Hey everyone, and welcome back. In a recent conversation, I used the phrase, "This is not works righteousness," and someone pointed out, quite rightly, that this statement was offensive. And they were right. I have to be honest, it was a failure on my part, and I want to apologize for that. It made me realize how much I was still trapped in a specific theological framework that has frankly poisoned the term works righteousness. So today, I want to unpack this, correct my own thinking, and get to the truth of what it means to be righteous through our actions. Let's start with the corruption of language. The phrase works righteousness has been weaponized, especially in certain streams of Christian theology. It's used to imply something inherently negative, as if doing righteous works is somehow the opposite of faith, or that any effort toward holiness is automatically an act of pride. This is a form of linguistic manipulation, and it's time we call it out. So what does works righteousness really mean versus the slander it's been subjected to? The slanderous view claims it's about trying to earn salvation through human effort, trusting your own merit, and rejecting God's grace. It paints a picture of prideful self-reliance. But what does it actually mean? It's simply righteousness demonstrated through works. It means being righteous before God through actual, tangible, righteous behavior. This isn't just not bad. It's literally what God requires of us. The person who called me out made a razor-sharp distinction that gets to the heart of the matter. It's all about motivation and audience. You can have ego-driven works where the motivation is, look at what I did. The audience is other people, and the result is pride and self-righteousness. Or you can have covenant-faithful works where the motivation is, this is what is required of me. The audience here is God, and the result is true righteousness before Him. The difference isn't whether you do the work, you absolutely must. The difference is why you do it. Is it for human praise, or is it for covenant faithfulness? This isn't some new idea. It's all over the scriptures. Jesus himself addresses this exact issue in Matthew chapter 6. He doesn't say, don't do righteous works. He says do them secretly, for God, not for human applause. He says, beware of practicing your righteousness before other people in order to be seen by them. When you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you. Jesus assumes you are doing the works. His only concern is your motivation. The prophets were shouting this from the rooftops. Isaiah 1:16-17 says, wash yourselves, make yourselves clean. Cease to do evil, learn to do good. Seek justice, correct oppression. These are all works, and they are works that make you righteous before God. This is true works righteousness. Or think of Micah 6-8, the famous summary. He has told you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you but to do justice, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God? Do justice is works. Love mercy is works. Walk humbly is the proper attitude while doing those works. It's works righteousness without the ego. And of course, there's James, who gives the clearest defense of this concept. In James chapter 2, he asks, what good is it, my brothers, if someone says he has faith, but does not have works? Can that faith save him? Faith apart from works is dead. He concludes, you see that a person is justified by works, and not by faith alone. For as the body apart from the spirit is dead, so also faith apart from works is dead. James is directly defending works righteousness against the corruption. We're talking about the idea that you can just claim faith alone and live however you want. So how did this get so twisted? It's a theological sleight of hand that happened in history. The setup came from Paul's letter to the Romans, chapter 3, verse 28. For we hold that one is justified by faith apart from works of the law. This verse was misinterpreted to mean that doing righteous works doesn't matter, or that trying to be righteous is prideful. But what did Paul actually mean? In context, Paul was arguing that non-Jews, the Gentiles, didn't need to adopt Jewish ethnic boundary markers like circumcision or kosher laws to be part of God as covenant people. He was talking about ritual law, not rejecting moral effort. Paul himself was a huge proponent of moral rigor. He told the Philippians to work out your salvation with fear and trembling, and the Galatians to keep in step with the Spirit. His letters are filled with commands. Put to death what is earthly in you. Put on the new self. These are all moral imperatives. The result of misinterpreting Paul was that works righteousness became a slur. It was used to shut down anyone who took moral effort seriously, dismissing the very thing the prophets and Jesus demanded: actual, real, righteous behavior. So let's get back to that critical distinction: righteousness before men versus righteousness before God. Righteousness before men is the ego-driven stuff. It's what Jesus condemned in the Pharisees, praying loudly on street corners, making a big show of their piety, loving the seats of honor. The problem wasn't the works themselves. The problem was that their audience was human, their goal was reputation, and their result was pride. Jesus said they did it all to be seen by others. But righteousness before God is covenant faithful. It's pursuing purity because that's what's required to walk with a holy God. It's striving for the standard He has set, doing the work without announcing it, as a simple act of service. Here, the audience is the heavenly court. The goal is actual holiness, not just a reputation for it. The result is true righteousness, even if no other person ever knows what you've done. This is what God requires. So when I said, "This is not works righteousness," I was unconsciously using that corrupted negative definition. I was trying to defend a righteous practice from a bad label. But the practice doesn't need defending. It is works righteousness in the true biblical sense, and that is a good thing. What you are doing is being righteous through righteous works, done before God, without ego. The proper statement should have been, "This is exactly what works righteousness asterisk." Should asterisk mean righteousness before God through actual righteous works, done in humility rather than pride. Here's a simple practical test to know the difference. Ask yourself, would I still do this if nobody ever knew? If the answer is no, it's probably ego-driven. If it's yes, it's covenant faithful. When you succeed, do you feel superior to others, or are you just grateful you had the strength to obey? When you fail, do you hide it to protect your image, or do you bring it before God in repentance? The path of covenant faithfulness always chooses the latter. In the father-mother framework that some of us use, this becomes even clearer. The father doesn't care about your reputation among other people. He cares about whether you're actually keeping the terms of the covenant. When you stand before the heavenly court, the accuser isn't going to check your social media profile. He's going to check your actual record of behavior. Judgment is based on what you really did. This is why secret acts of purity and kindness count so much, while public acts done for show, as Jesus said, have already received their reward in human praise. So, I think we should reclaim this term. We should proudly say, "I pursue works righteousness before God." This means I pursue actual righteous behavior that makes me righteous in His sight, and I do it humbly as a covenant obligation, not proudly for human applause. This is biblical, it's logical, and it's absolutely necessary. The sin that's actually being condemned in the Bible isn't works. It's hypocrisy. It's works done for show, or preaching one thing and doing another. Jesus told the people to do what the Pharisees teach, but not what they do. He said they tithed their spices, but neglected the weightier matters of the law: justice, mercy, and faithfulness. He didn't say stop tithing. He said do that, and do justice, and have the right heart. The problem was never the works. It was works without substance. So, to the person who called me out, you are right to be offended. I was using lazy language shaped by a theological tradition that has spent centuries making trying to be good sound like a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's the entire point. The model of achieving righteousness before God through actual righteous works done in covenant faithfulness is precisely what the Bible teaches. This is the way. Yeah and amen. Thanks for walking through this with me today. It's important we get our language right because it shapes how we think and live. If this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share. I'll see you in the next one.